As fake conservatives send leftists to mock pro-lifers at CPAC, environmentalist Congresswoman AOC guzzles fossil fuels, and Democrats double down on anti-Semitism and racial bigotry, one thing has become abundantly clear. President Trump is more principled than his critics. Then we will discuss what a documentary about Michael Jackson molesting little kids can tell us about our political culture. A lot more to get to. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. The center holds at CPAC, and it reveals one of the shocking truths to a lot of people on the right and the left. All we have heard on the right and the left is Donald Trump. He doesn't have any principles. Maybe he's a good president. Maybe he's doing good things. He doesn't have any principles, though. Obviously, the Never Trump crowd says this. Obviously, the whole left says this. Doesn't have any principles. It has become very clear within the last few weeks. Donald Trump is far more principled than his critics, to the right or the left. We'll get to that in a second, but first, let's make a little money, honey, with Purple Mattress. Oh, how I love Purple Mattress. Purple, you know, obviously I need to get 20 hours of sleep a night. I was trying to go to sleep last night, and I have these lunatics who live above me who just scream at each other all night long. And I would have been awake all night if not for my Purple Mattress. Their loud, awful shouting was only beaten out by the comfort of my beautiful Purple Mattress. I was very skeptical about Purple at first because it's not an inner spring, it's not a memory foam exactly. It's this new material developed by rocket scientists. It's firm and soft at the same time. How is that possible? I didn't think it was possible. It is. It is the greatest bed I've had in my life. I have recommended it to a zillion people. I, basically tossed my old bed out the second I got it. I absolutely love it. 100-night risk-free trial. If you're not fully satisfied, you can return your mattress for a full refund. Backed by a 10-year warranty, free shipping and returns, free in-home setup, and old mattress removal. You will love it. Right now, my listeners will get a free purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. That is in addition to the great free gifts they're offering site-wide. Just text COVFEFE, C-O-V-F-E-F-E, to 84888. That's the only way to get this free pillow. Text COVFEFE right now, C-O-V-F-E-F-E, to 84888. C-O-V-F-E-F-E, 84888. Message and data rates may apply. The CPAC speech was so good. It was so great. Donald Trump at the Conservative Political Action Conference. I unfortunately wasn't able to get out there this year. I used to love going to CPAC when I was younger. We just got stuck in La La Land this year, couldn't make it happen. I loved watching it from afar. Donald Trump went out there. A lot of you already saw clips from it. He talked for over 2 hours, largely ad-libbing, largely improvising the speech. The only thing I didn't like about it is a couple times he went blue. He didn't go Democrat. He went blue with his language. He used swear words in public, which I just don't like. Look, I'll talk like a sailor if I'm at the bar hanging out with the guys or something. I don't like it when my president does that. I don't like it broadly when people do that in public. There is a time and a place for everything. People should have discipline with their words. If you're not disciplined with your language, then you might not be disciplined in your thinking or your behavior either. That's the one criticism I have of this speech. I don't like it when people who are in dignified positions use swear words in public. That said, that's my only criticism. The speech was fabulous. The speech was unbelievably good. He covered everything. He covered all of the ground. And look, you've probably seen him on the internet. I'm just going to play one clip from it where he went right to the heart of the matter with Democrats, went brutally right. Some people said he went over the edge. He didn't. He identified the problem with the Democrat Party, the problem with the up-and-coming, fresh-faced Democrats, and he said it in no uncertain terms.
We have people in Congress, right now, we have people in Congress that hate our country. And you know that. And we can name every one of them if they want. They hate our country. Sad. It's very sad. When I see some of the things being made, the statements being made, it's very, very sad. And find out, how did they do in their country? Just ask them, how did they do? Did they do well? Were they succeeding? Just ask that question. Somebody would say, oh, that's terrible that he brings that up, but that's okay. I don't mind. I'll bring it up. How did they do in their country? Not so good.
Now, if you don't know what he's referring to here, he's referring to freshman Representative Ilhan Omar. He's referring to this woman. She's an immigrant, and she doesn't like America. She doesn't like America. She doesn't like our allies. And he makes a big statement. He said, there are Democrats in Congress who hate our country. That is a big statement. You can't make that statement unless you can back it up with facts. He did. He's referring to Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar has defended 9 men who tried to join ISIS from the United States. She defended them. She asked for leniency for them. She's backing terrorists. She blamed the U.S. for a terrorist attack on a Kenyan mall in 2013. She blames the United States when terrorist attacks happen. On the broader topic, so he defends it with that obvious specific example. Say there are Democrats who don't support our country, who hate our country. This is true. They protest the American flag, and they endorse protests of the American flag. You just have to go to that NFL protest from a couple years ago. They protest the flag itself, the symbol of the country itself, and Democrats are pleased to back them up, pleased to support them for it. The rest of the speech was like this. You know, as I said, he used a little salty language in there. It may be the case that our culture is so degraded that you sort of have to do this to win over a crowd. I've heard a lot of people tell me they loved it. Oh, I loved when he used, it's real language like the real people use. Maybe that's true. Maybe he's onto something. I don't know. I mean, that's a sad thing for the culture, but I guess I can understand it if that's where the culture is. Broadly, he goes on in this speech for 2 hours. It's very hard to do that. People don't appreciate, just as a technical show business aspect of his speeches, how difficult it is to do what he does. So he's a little loose with his language. He kind of goes here and there. He makes twists and turns. To speak for 2 hours is very hard, especially if you want to keep people engaged. And people were engaged with every second of that. So I watched every second of that speech. He is a masterful communicator. He is a masterful showman. He is a masterful politician. Now, those of us who have been paying attention have known all that for a long time. But the one question that remained, that I still hear people say, even supporters of the president, they say, yeah, but he doesn't have any principles. Yeah, he's good at politics, he's good at communicating, but he doesn't have any principles. That isn't true. This weekend, this CPAC showed that Donald Trump is more principled than his critics. I'm speaking in particular. I'll go after his critics on the right for a second, then we can turn to the left. I have refrained from criticizing Bill Kristol. I've largely refrained from it. This is because I like Bill Kristol. He was a teacher of mine for a summer in D.C. I listen to his podcast sometimes, Conversations with Bill Kristol, which I usually enjoy. I have to bring it up because Bill Kristol has made himself the news story, so we have to talk about it. He was the leading Never Trumper. He was probably the main face of Never Trump, and still is. He started a website called The Bulwark with Charlie Sykes. And the motto of The Bulwark is conservatism conserved. The argument being we're the real conservatives, and the Republican Party and Donald Trump and people who support the Republican president, they're fake conservatives. We, however, are the real conservatives. And I entertained this argument because, while I thought it was a wrong argument, I understood the logic of it. The logic basically was we're so conservative that we live in this totally pure, esoteric, ethereal realm that has nothing to do with real politics. We would never soil our principles by engaging in the reality of politics. Now, you might say that that is an unprincipled position in itself, which I would say. But I at least got that argument. This weekend, that argument fell apart. That Never Trump argument completely dissolved because what the Bulwark did was they sent a leftist reporter, Molly Jong-Fast, to report on CPAC. And they were promoting this. They'd say, oh, you're going to want to pay attention to Molly Jong-Fast's reports. Ooh, you're going to really like this. Ooh, they were really promoting this. This wasn't some random freelancer who went off script. They sent a leftist in to mock CPAC. And what did she do? She filed a piece for the Bulwark called CPAC is Definitely the Bad Place. In that piece, you can read it yourself, she attacks pro-lifers. She refers to them as anti-choice almost exclusively, if not exclusively. She attacks the Reagan administration over its policy in Latin America. She attacks the NRA. She attacks Second Amendment supporters. She attacks Charlie Kirk for being a college dropout who then goes and lectures college students about free speech on campus. I'm not sure of this, I believe Molly herself is a college dropout, so it's kind of weird for her to make that attack. They attack Seb Gorka. They say, Seb Gorka, who lectured the crowd about how socialism is bad and how Democrats love to kill babies. Show me the lie. Socialism is bad. Democrats have embraced socialism, and Democrats have not just embraced late-term abortion, they've now embraced killing babies after they are born. Not even just Ralph Northam in Virginia. Senate Democrats voted against a bill that would offer medical treatment to babies who are born, who survive abortions. National Democrats voted to kill babies after they are born. She attacks this as somehow bad, somehow wrong. She attacks conservative sponsors of media, specifically Mike Lindell, who's the MyPillow guy, who sponsors a lot of conservative media. She attacks him for sponsoring conservative media. She attacks the RNC and RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. She attacks Fox News host Laura Ingraham. And then she attacks John Batchelor, who's a radio host, who's conservative. He's been battling cancer. And she attacks him for looking ugly and old. Said it looks like he's 400 years old. I think after the blowback, she finally had to delete that tweet. So the principled, never Trump stance was we're going to conserve conservatism. How does any of that conserve conservatism? The principled, never Trump, conservatism conserved idea was they were going to get a ton of interest, a ton of attention by sending this leftist reporter. That worked. They did get a ton of attention. But my question now is, once you've alienated pro-lifers, Reaganites, Second Amendment supporters, young conservatives, anti-socialists, conservative media sponsors, Fox News and the RNC and talk radio, who is your audience? What are you conserving? Because the only people who will want to read this are those suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, which is exclusively left-wing, with the exception of the dozen never-Trumpers that still exist. And the left is never going to read an outlet that calls itself conservatism conserved. It just isn't going to happen. They might invite you on MSNBC to go attack the president, but that's it. Very misguided. And by the way, after all of this, after it was clear what Molly Jong-Fast did, Mr. Crystal came out and tweeted, quote, "Thanks to Molly Jong-Fast for triggering so many snowflakes on the right with her mordaunt, yes, gasp, heterodox dispatches from CPAC 2019. He's acknowledging her attacks on pro-lifers. He's acknowledging all of that, and he's celebrating it. This is obviously not conservatism conserved. Ironically, what it actually is liberalism liberalized. I'm not just making a little cute play on words. That's actually the difference. And this has been a project of many people on the right for a long time. They don't want to conserve the conservative tradition. They want to liberalize the liberal tradition. They are liberals who want to make liberalism a bigger tent, who want liberalism to be more liberal, who want liberalism to engage with free speech or whatever. This was the idea. Bill Kristol said, a couple years ago, he said, let's rebrand the GOP as the liberal party because we're the real liberals and we're the cool guys and liberalism is so great. What a bad idea. That's a terrible idea. That's, ironically, Donald Trump is actually doing the Bulwark's mission. Donald Trump is actually conserving conservatism. He's saying there is an alternative to liberalism. Conservatism is not just another form of liberalism. There is a different conservative tradition. That is much more honest and that is much more principled what the Trump critics on the right are doing. And I think they've finally exposed that. I don't know how they could expose it in any more obvious fashion than to send a leftist to go make fun of pro-lifers at CPAC. We have to get to how the left is less principled than Donald Trump, but first, let's thank our wonderful sponsor, Mike Rowe. If you are looking for more great podcasts to listen to, but you're short on time, you've got to check out The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe. This podcast gives a unique take on American history, explores everything from pop culture to politics, actors to athletes, history to Hollywood, and each episode is 10 minutes or less. The Way I Heard It is hosted by Mike Rowe. He presents stories for the curious mind with a short attention span. His storytelling is reminiscent of the late Paul Harvey's The Rest of the Story. It reminds me a lot of Ronald Reagan, actually. It's got a very Reagan-esque quality. They're all pretty short. They're all under 10 minutes. It's the #1 short-form podcast in America, downloaded more than 87 million times. You can start with episode 36, Oh Brother. I don't want to ruin the episode, but it is about a sibling rivalry, siblings torn apart by politics in a very tough American election that was based on making America great again, and how it intersects with pop culture, how it intersects with the entertainment industry. I don't want to ruin any more, but it's a fabulous episode. Go to mikerowe.com/podcast today and listen and subscribe to The Way I Heard It. mikerowe.com/podcast. mikerowe.com/podcast. You are going to love this, especially if you're short on time. It is just such a great little dose of wit, of history, of political cleverness. I really like it. I'm sure you will too. Check it out, mikerowe.com/podcast. It's not just the right that has fewer principles than Donald Trump, it's the left as well. So we see this most clearly with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, our favorite, the socialist from Yorktown Heights, she said, quote, I'll try to do we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. That's what she said. So what she is saying is we need to have 0 greenhouse gases. We need a full transition off of fossil fuels within 10 years, or else the world will end, or else it is not okay to have children. That's what she said. You have to ask yourself if it's moral to have children in this world. And what did we learn from federal filings? She's a hypocrite. She doesn't practice what she preaches. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez lives in the city with the greatest subway system in the world. And according to her federal filings, she listed over 1,000 Uber, Lyft, and Juno transactions during her campaign. She spent $30,000 on rideshare. Guess where her campaign headquarters was located? 1 minute away from the 7 train. And the 7 train can take you anywhere, because the 7 train connects to a bunch of other lines, so you can get all around. She lived a 1-minute walk away from the 7 train, and she spent 30 G's on rideshare apps. To put that into perspective, Max Rose, who's another freshman Democrat from New York, he only spent $6,000 on rideshare apps, and he only spent them on 329 rides during his campaign. So she used way multiples more than this. Then what happened after the primary? After the primary, AOC set her sights outside of New York. She flew around 66 times, costing $25,000. She wants trains over planes, doesn't she? Well, she only took 18 Amtrak rides. She flew 66 times. Actually, on October 12th, 2018, on that day alone, AOC logged 26 car service transactions. That's in one day. And what I'm pointing out here is not that she shouldn't take Ubers, not that a congresswoman shouldn't ride. What I'm pointing out is she doesn't believe what she's saying. She is a fraud. If she really thought that the world were going to end because of greenhouse gases, she would take the subway, which is 1 minute away from her headquarters. She wouldn't fly all over the country to raise money. She would stick around town. What she is saying is, do as I say, not as I do. Greenhouse gases for me, but not for thee. It is a real hypocrisy. And some have said, well, you know, people, someone tweeted at me, they said, Ralph Nader campaigned for seatbelt laws at a time when there weren't a lot of seatbelts in cars. Well, Henry Ford took trains at a time when he was building automobiles. Well, that's not hypocritical. It is hypocritical for her because she's saying the world will end if people continue these behaviors. That's the difference. She says this is destroying Earth, imperiling the future of the human race. That's what makes it hypocritical. And she obviously doesn't believe it because environmentalism is a sham. It is an obvious power grab. Now, this is to make AOC probably not the worst of the Democrat congressmen these days because she is not explicitly defending killing babies after birth or condemning the Jews. I want to get to Ilhan Omar in a second, which is what she is doing. But first, I want to talk about just the Democrat tenor, because when you call them out on hypocrisy, when you call them out on their double standards, on race, on the environment, on whatever, what do they don't have an argument. So what they immediately do is call you Hitler. This is what happens when you don't have an argument. That's how you know they're losing the argument. Here is Elie Mystal on MSNBC using this ridiculous tactic.
I know you have a reaction, Ellie. I feel in my heart that you might have a reaction.
Mark Meadows, I know why members of Congress can't say this because they have to work with the man, but I don't have to work with the man. Mark Meadows is so racist that he needs to be put on display at the African American History Museum as an artifact, all right? I am so sick of Republicans thinking that the only racist people left in America are David Duke and Louis Farrakhan, all right? White people don't get a vote. White people have been held in bondage and oppression in the New World for 400 years. My own counsel will I keep on who is to be called racist. All right. So when these white Republicans try to tell me, and Bagger Vance standing behind her, when these people try to tell me who is racist and who is not racist, they need to understand that I do not care. What I care about is what their policies are and what their actions are. And Mark Meadows is a birther. So he can roll his behind out of here.
You know what he's saying? What he's saying is, I don't have an argument. I don't have an argument, and so I'm going to demagogue. And you can't have an opinion. You don't get a vote. You do. You're allowed. You don't understand how opinions work, Mr. Mystal. More on that in a second, but first let's make a little money with Candid. Have you ever had a problem with your teeth that you've always wanted to get fixed? I have an option that can help. You won't need to go through the hassle or long-term treatment of wire braces. You can do it all from the comfort of your own home. It's this new company called Candid. Candid is helping people gain confidence through accessible and affordable orthodontic care. Candid's network of highly trained orthodontists review each and every case and directs the entire aligner plan. Straighter and brighter teeth in an average of 6 months cost 65% less than braces. When I was a kid, I had braces. It doesn't look great. It's really kind of hard to pick up girls if you've got the braces. And they were very, very expensive. Now you can save so much money. You get clear aligners that are sent directly to your home, customized specifically to fix and straighten your teeth. Your orthodontists will review your specific case, provide you with a 3D preview of what your treatment will look like. Candid's treatment is an average of 6 months and will save you thousands compared to the other guys. You're one step away from getting straighter, whiter teeth. Take advantage of Candid's risk-free modeling kit guarantee. Plus, when you use my dedicated link, candidco.com/covfefe, C-O-V-F-E-F-E, you'll save 25% on your modeling kit. candidco.com/covfefe, C-O-V-F-E-F-E, to get 25% off the price of your modeling kit. candidco.com/covfefe. So what Elie Mystal just said is not true. It is not true that white people don't get to have an opinion about something because of the color of their skin. It's not true that black people don't get to have an opinion about something because of the color of their skin. That's not how opinions work. Thinking people can hold opinions about anything, and they should. And this is the issue, because the Democrats are no longer thinking. That's not just a throwaway line. Leftism has become a psychological twitch more than a coherent ideology. 50 years ago, liberals would say this about conservatism. Conservatism is just a psychological twitch, not a philosophy. That has happened to leftism now. It has happened to leftism because of the denial of truth, because of the denial of reality, because now they say all that matters is the reality of oppression. Ideas don't matter. Skin color is all that matters. This is a hysterical denier of reality, a refusal to engage with reality. You see, we talked about AOC on her environmentalism, how she has no principles. She says, I'm this high-minded, principled environmentalist. Nonsense. She's driving around gas-guzzling Ubers all over the place. For that woman to say that Donald Trump has no principles, crazy. But on the race issue too, Democrats have this problem. They're not handling their race issue well. Over the weekend, Ilhan Omar, that freshman representative, got into a spat with another Democrat colleague, Nita Lowey, and she doubled down. She said, quote, "Our democracy is built on debate, Congresswoman Lowey. I should not be expected to have allegiance, pledge support to a foreign country in order to serve my country in Congress or serve on committee. The people of the Fifth elected me to serve their interest. I'm sure we agree on that." What she's saying is that Jews have a double allegiance to Israel and to the U.S. It's not just a normal criticism of a country, which would be fine. To criticize Israel just like you would criticize France or Great Britain or China or whatever, that is acceptable. That's understandable. Ilhan Omar has a special hatred for Jews and for Israel. She prayed in Twitter. She said, "I pray that Allah wakes up people to the evils of Israel. Israel has hypnotized the world." That is language that you reserve for special contempt. That's not just the same as criticizing some other country. Arthur Schlesinger, a liberal historian, used to say, anti-Catholicism is the anti-Semitism of the left. Now we're finding out anti-Semitism is the anti-Semitism of the left. They are on this issue of race, they are totally unprincipled. They can't answer even their own colleagues who call them out for it. And what do? They do what Elie Mystal did. They say, "You don't have an opinion. You can't, my opinion's right because of the color of my skin. Stop challenging my opinion because I can't defend my opinion." That's what they're saying, because they have no argument. None whatsoever. And it even threw some clarity for me. I've never thought that the left had principles, but I sort of thought maybe in their own really narrow way, they're following a principled position. They're not. They're hypocrites on the environment. They're hypocrites on race. It is all just a naked power grab for socialism under the guise of environmentalism, a naked power grab for censorship under the guise of racism or anti-racism. And there you have Donald Trump, the reality TV star, casino owner, real estate developer from New York, a guy that you shouldn't expect to have principles. He's the only guy with principles among them. We will get to why CNN thinks he's Hitler in a second. Then obviously we have to talk about that Michael Jackson documentary and the political lessons that we can learn from a pop star molesting little kids. But first, you got to go to dailywire.com. $10 a month, $100 for an annual membership. You get me, you get the Andrew Klavan Show, you get the Ben Shapiro Show, you get to ask questions in the mailbag, you get the Matt Walsh Show, you get everything. You get so much, and you get this. The Leftist Tears Tumbler. Ooh. That's that CPAC vintage. That is that delicious CPAC vintage. 2 hours of unadulterated Trump, and we've only got more to come. Go to Daily Wire. We'll be right back.